Good morning, everyone. August 27th, tradingology.com, trading room. Welcome to Thursday. Make sure my speakers are up. As we know, I'm good at missing that. There we go. Locked and loaded. Good morning, Andre. Let's see, I get my chat going here. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning.
Technology is working. Good to see you.
Oh, there you are. Yes, good morning. Doing a little, putting out some fires this morning.
Yeah.
Everybody's texting me about Powell's speech this morning.
Yeah, I just watched it, or at least a couple excerpts of it. I don't know if I found just a bad recording, but everything I saw was pretty choppy. I'm like, is that him being choppy or is that the recording being choppy? It almost felt like he couldn't spit it out. I think that was just the recording, so it was probably a technical glitch.
Yeah, it could be, but the markets turned around quickly this morning after his speech. We can get into it after you go over some numbers here, but I found it pretty interesting.
Yeah, we had, I definitely figured that'd be the topic of the day. Just reviewing our calendar here. Oh we had yet another record, or I shouldn't say record, but yet another 1 million new jobless claims. They were expecting 1 million on the nose, and it was 1,000,006. Previous last week was 1.1 million, so we continue on the 1 million a week to go right along with Powell speaking shortly after that. So we look at, and then they have the symposium going both today and tomorrow. So no holds barred for what might happen. So if we look at back in when we took off there, when he started talking right here at 8:10 my time, 9:10 Eastern, that's where the rocket was lit. The candle was lit, paused a little bit, second stage kicked in. Now I'm sure some people have taken profits and we're going back for third stage right now. But nothing major, like we're not on a...
Is that up to date? Yeah, it's up to date.
Yeah, this is live.
Okay. Yeah, it's like nothing. Up down volume line has been like flat line. I mean,
Yeah.
look at yesterday's.
No volume coming in, just meandering here. So even with this, and I was looking at that yesterday, because yesterday we saw the massive moves too, right?
Yeah.
And there was nothing on the internals.
In fact, the internals were negative yesterday, but not a lot, but still negative.
Yeah, it floated around the negative 500 to 1,000, but yeah, we had a big rally.
Yeah.
Figure that out.
That does happen every once in a while. It's a very odd occurrence. What it means is everybody's putting money into the big cap stocks and the leaders, and everything else is kind of getting sold a little bit.
Everything's going into the S&P 5.
Yes, exactly.
Everyone's buying their FANG ETF. I'm surprised you don't just name an ETF called FANG by now.
Morning, Andre. Morning, Kyle.
Am I getting snide this week between my S&P 5 and the Fed market and now the FANG ETF?
You know, I almost died laughing this morning. It was just absolutely the funniest thing I have ever heard in my life.
Uh-oh, this ought to be good.
I quote. Powell, during his speech, states, where is it here? Oh, quote, many find it counterintuitive that the Fed would want to push up inflation, Powell said. Counterintuitive, that's all they do. They push up inflation. How is that counterintuitive?
Yeah, who is he talking to?
Yeah, I guess people who've never heard him speak before.
Well, yeah, after getting all the hype, they got a whole bunch of new audience that probably has, all they do is put together words that nobody understands anyways. They're like, what? Hawkish, dovish, quantitative easing? What's this guy talking about? Turn the channel.
Oh my God. And you know what? I didn't watch the recording. I didn't see him actually make the speech, but I have to believe he said that with a straight face.
He did. He didn't crack a smile at anything that I saw.
Counterintuitive that they want to push up inflation. How unbelievable is that? I guess they truly think that we are total idiots. They don't. Everything that they do is to push up inflation. That's been their policy since 1930.
Right. That's all they know.
That's it. Yeah, that's all they know. That's all they do.
They don't do anything else. Who's he trying to fool?
I don't know. I guess people have never heard him speak before. I mean, he was at Jackson Hole, so he's talking to the world monetary, policy makers across the world. That still just blows my mind, though, because every single central bank in the world wants inflation right now.
Right. All good times. Well, you're going to have to, save that one for whenever you are feeling down. Just go ahead and read that on the wall.
Just unbelievable. I could not stop laughing. Oh my God. And here's the takeaway from the speech, though. Basically what he's saying is that it doesn't matter if the unemployment rate goes back down to 3%, or 3.5%, which was the lowest level in decades. I mean, decades. Right. They're not going to raise interest rates. So typically when the unemployment rate goes down like that, it means the economy is overheating, and rates have to rise in order to tamp down inflation so it doesn't get too high. But they're not going to do it this time, they said. Unemployment starts going down again from the whatever 30% it is right now, which is probably the real rate, down to like 5, 6, 7%. They're not going to raise rates. And that's the big monetary policy change that they're making.
Yeah, so it was for a long time, and they're ready to let it float around the 2%. How is that new? Didn't they always target 2 and 3%?
They always targeted 2 to 3%. They have not hit it in the since 2008, 2009 financial crisis. I mean, they were like, I think they hit it for like a quarter or two, but on an annual basis. But on an annual basis for real terms, I don't think it hit more than 1.5, 1.75%. So now they're trying to overcompensate for that. And he didn't say it, but I'm guessing that they're shooting for 4 to 5% inflation.
Well, and this is the part that we're more than likely they're not going to be able to control as well as they think they can, because this is where it's going to go too far. Yeah. Because of all the money printing we've done. So it's kind of like you're riding a motorcycle and you're trying to go faster without going wide open throttle, because that thing's going to take off if you're not ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's I had an analogy for the day.
And that's actually a pretty good analogy, because when I was like 16, 17, I bought my first motorcycle. And I remember I pulled a little too much on the throttle, and the bike went right out from under me.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
It just took right off. Left me sitting on the sidewalk.
That's why it was the best thing that just jumped in my head, so I can feel like that's what Powell's going to be saying.
Yeah.
I tried to give it a little bit of gas, but then I hit a bump and I went too far.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I like that analogy. So anyway, that statement of his, I'm afraid to read it again. I know we had a couple of people join us here, but afraid to read it again because I'm going to die laughing.
They have you can pull it up. I'll show you where the links are if you guys don't have it yet. So you can go into the full release here. All right, I want to see that one. I want to see this.
Counterintuitive. One. How could he possibly say that's counterintuitive? Oh my God. So you know what this means? Well, I'll read it one more time just for the guys who joined us kind of late here.
Yeah, we had a good group come in.
The Federal Reserve, Powell, in his speech this morning at Jackson Hole, said, and I quote, "Many find it counterintuitive that the Fed would want to push up inflation." Yes, I think that's really counter. There it is.
There you go.
I don't know who he's trying to fool with that statement. I mean, it is not counterintuitive whatsoever. That's exactly what the Fed's goal is.
After all, low and stable inflation is essential for a well-functioning economy. I felt like he was almost doing like a bedtime story. I know he's got to be calm and he can't be jumpy, but it's just always interesting. So here's the full speech. You can review it. I'll throw this one in the link too, just so you guys don't have to go digging for it.
I wonder how long he practices that in the mirror before he does it.
He could probably pass a lie detector test because he's been trained by the military to not change his heart rate.
Probably. Just unbelievable. Right after that news, we jumped a couple hundred points, pulled back a little bit, and we're right back up to the highs.
And we're right back. We're on the upper bounds of, when we squeeze these down, we see the middle, then the lowers and the uppers. Really tight ranges here, but we're already going towards the third points, which we typically don't even get past the first or second. So yeah, we're 200 up on the YM futures contracts right now, 210. And that's pulled back from 50 points above that. So we were up 250 at one time.
Now we had gold and silver up a little bit for a while. I think they're down now. But they jumped up. Silver jumped up to $30.
I pulled up the Dixie on a 5-minute just to see it during the morning there. So we opened around 93, it dropped down to 92.5, then it jumped back up. Now it's kind of, we'll see where it goes from here.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
You compare that to the previous days.
Look at that ATR.
Hey, you like that jump?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, though, the VXX is up. The VIX is up. Well,
that's the other part that I found that interesting yesterday too. We were watching the internals hovering around 500,000 down, negative at least, and then markets were going up, and the VXX was going up. Excuse me. All at the same time there. It's fun when you watch the stuff that's normally not correlated. It's like, why is volatility and the markets rising? Because I think it was part of this happening. Is my initial thoughts were they're anticipating what he may or may not say, even though they were definitely hyping it up and talking about his new inflation deal.
Well, remember that the VIX and implied volatility overall is just it's kind of a forward-looking indication of what they think the price volatility is going to be, and we saw price volatility. See? So it doesn't matter if it's going up or down. You can have a higher VIX, higher VXX as prices go up. It's the range of those bars, just like I put in the course there, the winning trade system. It's the range of those bars that really determine what's happening with the VIX and the VXX there. So they're expecting wide price ranges, fluctuations. It doesn't matter if it goes up or down.
There you go. That's a good explanation. I think that helps everybody because they look at one and they expect it. Hey, if the volatility is going down, price should be going up all the time. But it's not always a direct inverse correlation. So I think that's a good refresher for people.
Yes, absolutely. So I mean, if they're this is more significant than the FOMC meetings because it was done at this monetary policy at Jackson Hole, and so it is a significant change from the way the Fed has handled lower unemployment rates in the past. Now he says it's because of the health situation right now.
Right.
But we knew that the economy was in trouble last September before this happened.
Yep.
And so now he can use this as an excuse to keep interest rates low, even though we get lower unemployment rates. Makes perfect sense. The unemployment rate went up, not because of the economy, but because of the health issue.
Exactly. Right.
He's using all the excuses he can possibly find to keep interest rates low. Doesn't matter what they are.
Yeah, we had those down. What did you think of my little triple correlation? Are you still doing some thinking on that between the RSI? I sent you that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like it. I was using just stochastics, but the RSI, I like that as well. I think that's great. I do like that.
So
I think that's really a good insight.
Yeah, I think this might be, if you guys have a golden nugget ever. I was talking with one of our members yesterday, and he likes RSI, which I know a lot of traders do. So he was doing some correlations. So here what I have is the VXX on top, and I have the SPY at the bottom. So this is a long range. This is a daily chart. I've got them correlated as much as possible. As I move my line over, we see this goes back before the major drop. I'll squeeze the VXX back down so you can see all of it. I was looking at right now. So we'll move that right down. So here we have the VXX trade system indicator, along with the indicator that Dave built for SPY VIX. They're similar, but slightly different. So they're not identical, but they do track close to each other. And then down here I have RSI on the SPY. Everybody likes when it gets to the overbought or oversold levels. Like we see here, it's because right now we're way above, right? We're sitting at 78 RSI, 77. So it's in the red. It's been in the red since the 23rd, 24th, 21st, even back to.
Yeah.
So some people look at this and they say, do we expect, is the crash going to happen again? Because RSI is way overbought. And then we can look at, so I was doing some comparisons historically when this happens. So I saw before, so this is February, before everything happened, VXX was nice and low. Market was going up. The VXX, or the SPY VIX, definitely got to an upper bound. Remember we were talking about that? We were up at high levels that we'd never seen for a long time since the last big crash in 08, 09.
That's right. We talked about that for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so that started to peak and max out. That's before, so that was like the warning indicator. So what I found is when this is at the peak, the SPY VIX is at a peak, and the VXX trade system is now at a peak. When those three line up, that's like the red warning lights are going off. Either don't be long, buy some cheap puts, whatever you want to do to protect yourself that are a long way out, because we don't know exactly what date it'll hit. Because this was a few days later than it started the downturn, and then let me squeeze this back down so you see how low it went. We went from 340 down to 220 on the SPY itself. So the VXX itself kind of helped us here, but we started the downturn. So I saw this, so we start to look at it, we compare that. Here the RSI peaked again, so is this another warning indicator? Yes, we did have a little drop, but we weren't all the way up here on neither of these, so we didn't have the big crash. Yes, there was a slight correction, if you want to call it that, or a dip, buy the dip. Maybe the Fed stopped buying that day, back in May, June, whatever that was. June, it looks like. But so here we are tracking up again. Another one red touch here, but we weren't hitting the 3 here, so it didn't dump again. But now, so we see if this starts bouncing off, like it bounced off, if I go back even further here, RSI started to bounce off before this happened. But while this was the same correlation, 1.6, let's go to right here, keep that as close as possible. We weren't maxed out on all of them, so it didn't dump. But so that's what I'm kind of using that as more of the warning bells and indicators, is when we're all three line up is when we can have another major downturn, I would say, or be very protective of yourself. Because right now we're at 14 and 13 here. The upper bounds are around 25. So that's what I'm going to keep my eye on is, this might bounce and come back down a little bit, then bounce up again. But once all three are in alignment, I think that's big red flashing lights. This is yellow lights, and the big red lights are when all three come together, is what I did some study on there.
Yeah, no, I really like that. I think that's probably the best indicator of a potential large market decline coming. Absolutely. Like it.
So keep that one in your back pocket, guys, and keep your eye on that.
So this announcement then really kind of speaks to what we did in the Wealth Masterclass to talk about commodities starting to heat up. We're going to have stocks heat up, crypto, silver, gold, you name it. If they're targeting anything higher than 2%, and my guesstimate is that 4 to 5% to overcompensate for the low inflation that they've seen over the last decade. If that's true, then we're going to see asset prices go up significantly. And we're down a little bit today on crypto, but I think that's just kind of like the overnight sort of reverberations from this morning. Crypto is always a little bit later catching up to the stock market than everything else. What are commodities doing, actually? I don't have my commodity charts up.
I haven't. Gold and silver had a little spike, but then are coming back down. It's probably based on whatever the conversation that he had there.
Yeah, because silver hit 30. So it jumped up pretty. I don't know if that was today or not, though. I have to go to, I'm on a monthly chart. Jeez. I have to go down a shorter term. No, yeah, actually it did.
There was a little spike in both.
Yeah, just right along with the Dixie.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
You guys are awfully quiet this morning.
And in fact, it was actually inverse. So we had a spike at silver, just 5 minutes after his talk started, and we had that dip in the Dixie at the exact same time. So you can see the correlation here between silver, gold, and the U.S. dollar.
The dollar, yeah.
Yeah, totally negative. Looks like -1 correlation, almost perfect negative correlation.
Yeah, we got the Dow's up. Dow's almost up 1% now.
Yeah.
NASDAQ is surprisingly only at 0.1.
Well, I had a big day yesterday. Jeez, it was up over 240 points.
It was 2% up on the NASDAQ yesterday, 0.5% up on the SPY right now, or SPX.
Yeah. How's the Russell doing? Where's the Russell?
The Russell is all over the place for the high volatility, but it is up 0.25% on the futures right now.
Okay.
Yeah, look at that action. That's really, so there's your volatility coming in that they're seeing. And here's the throttle. It's breaking through this end of the, I can't think of remember the name off the top of my head right now. The Camarilla. That's this green one is the last one. There's nothing above this except for one more person point. So that's a big room to run. The dog could run all the way to 28.7.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be about 500 points on the futures.
And that'd be a while since we've seen the higher triple digit days. You know, our 1,000-point days are a thing of the past for a little while. We'll see if we come back to those or not. 1,000 up, 1,000 down.
So yeah, this is this is fairly significant. Fairly significant from Powell.
Yeah, we'll wrap on that because historically, things that happen at Jackson Hole are a big deal. Like you say, it's more than just a regular meeting minutes reading.
Yeah, this is world leaders talking about monetary policy. It's a big deal.
So go check it out. Watch the recording just so you educate yourself. Try to hold a straight face while he says Dave's favorite line. And maybe I'll get that framed and send it to Dave for a present.
Counterintuitive. Unbelievable. All right, guys. Hope everybody's doing well. I did do the long VXX yesterday. So I just had a feeling it was going to pop, and it is up. It's still up a little bit, but not as much. But even with the long VXX, I'm actually down because it didn't pop that much, and also I have less contracts on the
long, sure,
on the long side. But I've got more short contracts, and that's the beauty of the VXX Pro system, is that even if it doesn't go in your direction, you have more short contracts on a long and more long contracts on a short, but you have a net credit. So it works out even if it doesn't go.
Built-in protection.
That's right.
And review that one a couple times if you haven't seen it. That's one of the, that's my bread and butter now. I love it.
It is
Yeah,
a nice.
check out the VXX if you haven't yet. And that'll get your indicator for one of your 3 red warning lights to go with the SPY VIX and to go with the RSI. So highly recommended. And that'll be a wrap for the week, guys. So let us know if you got any questions, shoot us emails, jump in the Slack channels, and we'll be there as much as possible.
All right, guys. Have a fantastic weekend.
Yeah, have a great weekend, Dave. Appreciate it, guys.
You too.